Hello everyone, my name is Vikas Ahir and I'm product manager for model assembly. Today I'll be walking you through some of the enhancements that we have done to one of our PDM connector, that is Windchill. And then I'm also going to go through our open PDM integration done through this PDM Live framework, which we released in 2022.3. And the reason for recapping that one is there is a lot of interest and we want to put out more information with respect to that integration. So today's agenda would be today's executive summary will be we talk more about this PDM Live connector framework that we have. It's built on HyperMesh parts. It's a seamless integration with PDM. It's built on we had a legacy connectors which we are trying to phase out and we are trying to bring in the better seamless integration with all the PDM system, and it essentially supports our PDM revisions, PDM variants directly. The way this works is you have this is a very simple schematic showing you the flow of the data. We have the information, the CAD information coming from PDM system. It could be Windchill, Teamcenter, Open PDM, and we support it through part browser. So a CA user can from within HyperMesh actually query for those uh, CAD bombs and download them. Then he can work on the meshes. He can definitely utilize our part library in the backend. And then if he wants, he can push the mesh back, or he can also go ahead with the subsystems. So this is essentially the basic schematic of the workflow. Of course, there are additional things that need to be considered, but the workflow that most of the customers like is this one. So the basis for this is parts and hence the part browser. So part browser has multiple sources of part hierarchy. You can use multiple inputs. And the one that will be used in the slides is PDM via import bomb or direct integration, as we normally refer to. It supports Siemens Teamcenter, PTC Windchill, and ProStep OpenPDM right now. Then there are other ways also to import the hierarchy in it. It's indirect integration, where a user has downloaded a PLM XML or a Windchill XML or a CAD bomb locally, and then other users consume it without the direct integration. We also import the BOM from CAD data itself. CAD itself is supported for BOM import, as well as CAD data is also supported for importing the geometry. And then, of course, you can create the part hierarchy from the interactive creation from within the part browser as well. One of the key aspects of our entire workflow from day one has been our ability to map the part assemblies and parts one is to one with whatever that is in Windchill, Teamcenter, or OpenPDM. This gives us tremendous ability to not only visualize the data as it is in a PDM system, it also allows us to manipulate it and send it back correctly to the PDM system. And we also capture a lot of the revision information when we are doing so, as well as the material information and MID, PIDs if customers are using it. So in this slide, going to talk about a little bit about our seamless data connectivity using the PDM Live connection that allows us to talk freely with this PDM system. So these are next generation of connectors. They are optimized and they are available right from your part browser. So you don't have to really anybody who has learned this part browser workflow don't have to really learn that workflow again. When you do representation load, you will see if your repository is registered from PDM as an additional option to load data from, and then the additional tab is shown. So this really improves the efficiency and learning. You can download the data on demand, so you can unlock significant time savings with on-demand downloads. You really don't have to always download entire BOM or upload entire BOM. You can decide to download it on the fly, saying that I need this part, I'll just download it. I don't really have to wait for someone to provide me with that part or go ahead and pull it from the system. You also get the real-time data access and updates. So using Subscribe, you can be always informed whether the part has been updated. And this also results in significant time saving. And it also allows you to work with the latest and greatest all the time. So you always synchronize with your system. I just mentioned Subscribe. So next generation Subscribe functionality actually works automatically on on the imported BOM, and it keeps on querying if the particular part that is in the BOM that is in your hypermesh session is updated or not, and it can inform you if the BOM if the revision of that particular part is changed. Currently, this auto subscribe functionality is only supported for Teamcenter, but in future it will be extended to Windchill and OpenPDM as well. This being incorporated in part browser workflow is very intuitive to use. Users find it really used to this workflow, and they don't need really a new learning, or we don't have to really teach them how to work with the part browser. So this also helps in their day-to-day workflow, and hypermesh driven workflows is what our users are comfortable with, and that's what they like about this workflow. This is fairly user friendly, as you can see, and of course it's optional. So many users will think that, if they are if they have to use a part browser, they have to use it with the PDM live connectors. That is not the case. Many organizations who also have the PDM system and also have the exposed to the PDM live connectors, it's really it's a user choice or the organization choice. Part browser works with or without PDM systems. So even if you choose not to utilize these PDM connectors, that is again organization's decision. It doesn't affect part browser. We can still use the indirect integration to work with the parts and get the subsequent workflows going. So this is entirely optional, and it can be driven by the organization's need. So again, I'm going to emphasize a little bit here about direct versus indirect connection. So while both allow collaboration, then maintaining the digital thread and store parts for reuse, direct integration is only adding your download files directly from PDM into the hypermesh, uploading files back to PDM directly from within hypermesh, and subscribe. Otherwise, most of the things are pretty much similar. So it's not that if any organization is using a PDM system and we don't have a connection with that particular PDM system, that handicaps us from using the hypermesh or model build workflow. It is not the case. So you can still use the indirect integration and still work with all the goodies that we have in part browser or model build workflow and continue using those. So this slide will just is a reminder that no way we are dependent only on PDM live connections to get our model build workflow going. Our indirect integration is very popular, more popular than these PDM driven workflows, and it's been used extensively in different organizations. So we'll before we talk about the PDM live connection, I would like to give a little bit information about the Windchill. It's it's a solution provided by PTC that's based out of US. It's fairly popular with small and medium scale industries, and particularly popular in Asia. It is a very good solution that centralizes the product data by enhancing collaboration and sharing. It has got CAD, BOM, and document management. It's fairly complete, and of course, when we talk about revision control, change management, it's fairly robust over there too. So by opening up the PDM Live framework to Windchill, we have ensured that there is a seamless cross-discipline collaboration with Windchill. Uh, we have very intuitive interface within Hypermesh. The same interface that is used by Teamcenter, Windchill, or OpenPDM is being used. It has minimized the need for Windchill workflow training, providing an intuitive experience, meaning a CA user need not be trained into how to query a part in or a WT part in Windchill. We just provide this GUI with the selected fields. Most of the noise is cut out, and CA user is only dealing with the WT parts or CAD documents that he is interested in. He can query for those. So this minimizes the need for CA user to get started with the Windchill or the PDM system. Our workflows are hypermesh driven. So these hypermesh centric workflows that give user confidence that they can continue working even if the new PDM system has been introduced. And of course, we do a dynamic data exchange, which is bidirectional, which is the key here that allows users to work very seamlessly and with a lot of confidence when they are dealing with Windchill or any other PDM system. So we do have a legacy windshield connector which has been enhanced. So some of the things have been carried over, like registration and everything from the older workflow, with of course a new user experience. But the how we load the representation, how we export them, everything has been revamped and put into the newer workflows, which I'll go through in the next slide. So first thing is repository registration. You can still go to file, import BOM, and if you click on the small down arrow, you will see a remote dialog. We click on plus and then we select Windchill in this case. Name is user defined. They can give any name. In this case, I'm giving Windchill Altair, and the host is your Windchill link. On clicking OK, the repository gets registered, and this is your starting point. Now you have to log in into Windchill using your Windchill provided credentials. In this case, I'm giving the one that we use, and that's it. Then you can query based on name or ID, and these queries are again customizable. I'm doing an oil assembly query. There is a oil pump that I'm going to demo in this further slides. So I'm querying for that. There is a lot of enhancement built into this newer GUI, which is very specific to our Unity framework. We do remember the login more. We do remember the last executed queries in this newer interface than the classic one. So my request would be we move to the newer interface as soon as possible when we are dealing with these PDM connectors. So in the next slide, I'm actually going to download the BOM. So I do file import BOM, and you can see that the last query is still there. I click on import BOM. The BOM gets downloaded, and we import it in session. One thing I like to mention here is Windchill doesn't support a XML format like PLM XML or anything. It is us through our connector that we are downloading the information and pulling it in Hypermesh in format that Hypermesh understand. We call it Windchill XML, but essentially there is nothing like a Windchill XML that is coming out of Windchill. That is Windchill XML is purely an XML that we generate for our own purpose. I'm going to play the video again. So as I had mentioned earlier, you can see library and from PDM. And since CAD is available, we see that there are 7 parts and 7 CAD is available, which get loaded in this case. So it's fairly straightforward and really easy to use interface as far as warm download is considered. Now we'll look at mesh representation upload. In this video, we'll upload different kind of mesh. So in a hypermesh model build workflow, there are multiple ways through which you can generate a mesh. You can either use batch mesh or you can use manual mesh. So in this video, I'm going to show both methods. So in 2023, we have enhanced our mesh generation through use of rep controls, and we actually use an automatic way using these PDM mesh flags. So as you can see, there are SMT, SMH, and of course a mid mesh flag generated or already put in for these particular parts. So these parts I'm going to send to batch mesher with automatic option in the next steps. So we do a right click, say representation create, which is also supported in graphics. And the moment I select automatic, you will see that it gets sent to. I'm going to go back a little. It gets sent to the batch mesher. One key thing you will need to observe here is there is an additional flag called save to PDM. This flag has to be turned on in order for us to send the information back to any PDM system, whether it's Windchill, Teamcenter, or Open PDM. This interface that you see, this workflow remains constant, and that's why we really don't have to train users if they decide to switch the systems, the PDM systems themselves. The moment this checkbox is turned on and we hit OK, the batch mesher will launch. And once the batch meshing is complete, in the backend, we'll start uploading the data back to uh, Windchill that is generated by the batch mesher. Here, I'm just showing that for this particular oil strainer, we don't have any attachment. We don't have anything uh, attached to that WT part or CAD document yet. So I'm going to get out of the system and I'm going to click OK. Again, I'm clicking save to library. I'm unchecking the save to library here. these workflow, our own provided workflow of library and open PDM are independent. They do coexist. A lot of customers use them together, but for the for the sake of this demo and not to cause any confusion in users' mind, I have unchecked that particular checkbox. But we assure that even if you are using our part library workflow, everything will work without any issues, and that is a workflow that most of the customer prefer, using the benefits of both worlds, our part library as well as the PDM system. For this particular part, I'm going to mid-surface it and then put a 10 millimeter mesh on it manually, so that we can populate this particular mesh back in Windchill manually. I'm going to delete the original part so that we don't have to send two components back, and then we do a representation save, and again you will see that there is a save to PDM. Okay, the batch meshing is complete, so I'm not going to load for those parts. And as you can see here, there is a save to PDM flag which is already checked on by default. We remember that flag, and I'm selecting representation as NVS 10 in this case, and I'm clicking OK, and you will see that that HM binary associated with this particular oil strainer will get uploaded instantly. Now I'm going to load the remaining tetra and mid mesh parts that we have batch meshed, just for the completeness of this demo, just to show that the mesh were actually generated in the backend. Mid mesh, okay. Then if we go back to Windchill now and check over there if the parts have been associated correctly, you will see that yes, the parts have been associated. So for this particular part, we just hit go to latest and it will show us that the A2 revision of this particular part has a HM binary associated with it. And if I search for the oil assembly again in Windchill, and again go to that structure, you will observe that all the parts have been uploaded already correctly. This is the part that I kept on talking about initially, wherein user has to be aware of how to go to structure, how to visualize the associated attachments and everything. He has to essentially be expert in Windchill workflow, to which many CA users don't want. The easier way would have been I would have done a right click in our part browser and say representation load from PDM, and it should have listed all these parts for me. So even that is possible, and user not necessarily have to come again into Windchill to validate if the data is uploaded or not. There is always a case wherein change management happens, so the parts do get changed and then the user want to be informed how the parts have changed, what has changed and everything. So we already have a functionality called part subscription, which will demo it here. Of course, this is not in the newer interface or the new subscription that I talked about. We are still relying on the old subscription that we had earlier designed. This functionality works essentially on user deciding what he wants to do. We are showing it for Teamcenter. This works for Windchill too. You subscribe to the parts based on the number or the item revision, and then essentially in the dialog that will come next, you will see that the part has been subscribed to. So here I'm subscribing to parts and its children, everything that is under right assembly. So we click close here and you will see that in this dialog, everything is subscribed to. This functionality is still there, the old subscribe functionality, and it is moved to on a different place. It's moved to the organized browser now. But it's still there, and this interface is again older one. If your customers are used to a version that is not 2023, they can still utilize all of this, the older interface and subscription and everything. So I'm querying again from the Explore GUI, and before downloading the form, we can decide to subscribe to it. So these are just convenient methods to subscribe to different parts in different way. Once the subscription is done, you will see a list here, and this is essentially user-driven subscription. We don't have to really uh, go and find the parts that have been done. Here I'm showing again the subscription; those parts have been subscribed, and now we go and check for them. You just go and say what is the part, and you can hit check. You can select all the parts and go and hit check. uh, for the sake of demo, since the Windchill server was down, we chose to show how to revise it in Team Center and then show uh, just show the revision works. So I'm here creating a revision for part B, revision B for this particular center inner assembly. And if I go back to our hypermesh and say check for these parts, then we'll see that the revision is indeed shown as latest revision is indeed shown as revision B. So you can essentially subscribe to a lot of parts and decide to keep on checking them every time you launch hypermesh, and that way you will be always be informed about how they are getting updated and everything. So this was Windchill Live. Now we'll move to the Open PDM. So this Open PDM integration was developed in 2022.3, and we are recapping this because of there is a lot of interest regarding this Open PDM. So we thought we'll also do a additional session on Open PDM, showing its capabilities and also answering some of the questions that have been coming to your mind. So Open PDM connector is owned by ProStep. The company's name is ProStep. And these connectors are actually facilitating the seamless data exchange and synchronization between various PDM systems, optimizing collaboration and efficiency. They streamline the workflows by automating data transfer and enhancing productivity across diverse platforms. So in this case, essentially, OpenPDM can connect to these many PDM or PLM systems and exchange the data between them. By opening a connection with OpenPDM, we naturally have access to all of these PDM or PLM systems, and our focus is going to be initially only on the PLM systems and not the SLM systems, essentially. So what do they allow you to do? They allow you to seamlessly do the data exchange between different PDM system. They do ensure that data is consistent. The integration is pretty versatile, as you can see with this list. It's an effortless collaboration once it's set up. And again, they have pretty streamlined processes, and those are available to most of us. So when we talk about seamless integration capabilities, here is the small list of software vendors and products that they support. So there is Aras Innovator, Arena PLM, then there is Autodesk Vault that most of some of us will be interested in, 3D Experience from Dassault, and so on and so forth. They also support PTC Windchill and Siemens Team Center, which we initially used to validate our connection. So when we did a validation, we actually ensured that our code, single piece of code, can talk with diverse system using OpenPDM. The implementation is customer has a, let's say, a PDM system, Team Center or Windchill. They install OpenPDM and set up the connector to the system that they are interested in. And once they register the OpenPDM in HyperMesh, they can seamlessly push and pull data from this PDM system via OpenPDM. So this is particularly useful with the vendors who are not in our PDM Live framework yet. We can really open up the access to them. The again, the you will see that here the workflow is very similar: repository registration, downloading the BOM, and uploading the BOM. I'm going to do a quick video that demonstrates this facility, and we are going to import again the same way: import BOM and then click on remote. It brings up the same GUI, and here you can select Team Center, Windchill, or OpenPDM. We are interested in OpenPDM in this case, so we do OpenPDM. Name is again user driven. So in this case, the OpenPDM is actually talking with the Team Center installation that we have um, within our system. So we click OK here, and the repository gets registered, and we are asked to log in. So login will get us here, though we have to provide two user logins. One is for OpenPDM, the other is for the PDM system which we are connecting to. So this is a little bit of deviation, but because we are talking with a PDM system through another setup, essentially we have to log in into that system too. So once we log in, the entire workflow is very similar. You query for the BOM and then you download it. So in the next slides, we will actually do a BOM download. So again, the workflow is same. I'm starting from scratch every time so that users can get used to this workflow. We do file download. I'm going to pause it here, and this is a deliberate deliberate work done by me. Here you can see I'm connecting to OpenPDM TC, but we also have a OpenPDM Windchill system configured for testing, and we were testing the different PDM system using the same implementation to ensure that we have a code or we have a connection that is very diverse and it is capable of handling systems beyond one PDM system. So that's why you will see that there are multiple names coming up here because they were used for testing and we have in fact validated our code. Once you log in into OpenPDM TC, it will happen quickly in a moment. I can go and query for the BOM. And again, the workflow remains the same. We go ahead and download that BOM, and then we load the representations on demand. So in most of the demos, I'm doing a right click at the top level and saying representation load from PDM system. But a user or an end user or customer is not really needed to do that. They can actually decide to just download a subset of the entire BOM and keep on working with it and then upload that subset of BOM back to Teamcenter. So, or Windchill using OpenPDM, depending on what they are using or any other system. So here I'm doing an expand BOM. We quickly, while it's expanding, we can quickly go in Teamcenter and see how the BOM looks, because then we can compare it with what HyperMesh is showing. We have 3 levels of sub-assemblies followed by multiple parts under it, children part or child part under it. So this is how the BOM looks, and none of the BOM has got a HM binary associated with it. They all have a JT file with the relation specifications associated with it. And that's the key here, because once we upload the data back in, you will see a hypermesh binary associated with it. So the integration is pretty complete. You can query, you can download, and you can upload the data back. So I'm going to do a right click here and say representation load from PDM. And you can see we show the CAD here, and on clicking OK, for the first time, we will be asked to log in. Again, we will have to, since it's through OpenPDM, we'll have to provide the username password for both the system. This information is once per hypermesh session. So once I've entered this in a session, I'll be not asked for this information until the server times me out or hypermesh session is closed out, whichever comes earlier. So this is again for the security. We do not want to store the username password coming out of external PDM systems anywhere in memory or anywhere in our system. And this is why we just remember it only for the session. So now we will go to mesh representation upload. So we have the same mesh from the earlier workflow, and we'll do the similar steps. We will manually mesh some of it and we'll auto mesh some of it. Of course, these videos were created in 2022.3, so you will see the older interface for them, wherein we when we do representation, create, and use the batch mesh workflow, you will see not the mesh controls but our earlier implementation. So I have hidden a couple of parts. I'm going to do representation create for these two. And as you can see, I'm selecting crash 2mm. Again, I'm checking the save to PDM, uh, save to PDM checkbox here. That will ensure that as soon as meshes are created and the batch mesh process is complete, the mesh goes back to Teamcenter. So the batch mesher has come up. And now for the rest of the parts, we'll do a manual mesh. In this demo, I'm going to just throw a mesh on it without mid-surfacing it, and then try to save them back to Teamcenter for saving some time, which users will never do in the real world. But for this demo, I'm choosing to do this. So mesh is created. And when we do right click representation save, again, you will see that save to PDM checkbox is available to the user. And if he checks that, then the parts will get uploaded back to Team Center. Of course, you have to select the representation, what kind of representation you want, and then clicking OK should do it. You can add a comment for your own purpose. The comment will not be persisted in Team Center because it doesn't support the comments yet. As you can see, the information has been displayed that all parts have been saved in the status bar. So if you go back to, oh yes, so all these is also written in the console. So if I click yes here, those two parts will get loaded. And most of the time you will see that console will have information about what is uploaded and what is not. So all selected representations have been saved to PDM. In case upload fails, we do print a path to the log file in the console. If I come back in Team Center and if I look at all the parts, you will see that the different representations have been associated with the different parts. We do have to refresh the Team Center in order to see that, since the view was stale from the last login. And in this case, I'm saying common and NVS 10 because those were created through batch mesh process. With this, I think the demos for the Open PDM are done. And I'm in the next slides, I'm going to talk a little bit about our collaboration with ProStep for creating an integration with Open PDM. So the partnership goal was to enable the PDM connectivity of Hypermesh with different PDM solutions, especially the solutions which are not available, or the PDM system which are not available for us to connect to due to various reasons. Then there will be a couple of questions like how do we go about it, since it's an installation of entirely a bunch of software. So the software installation will be handled by ProStep. They will handle the sales and direct installation as well as configuration. We don't provide that because it's setting up an entire system, and essentially we don't want to get into that. So if you have any lead or if you want any demo or anything, you can reach out to us and we can connect you with the folks at ProStep who can guide us further. What does this mean with the to the existing customer who are Altair or ProStep? It's really nothing different, no standard or no difference. We can, if they want to move to Open PDM with any of their PDM system, we can definitely address their concerns, their requirements individually. But as of now, there is no difference on how we treat those customers. Then there will be a question like, in future, how do we handle the integration updates? So ProStep software, the Open PDM will be under maintenance from them. They will manage it entirely, and we'll manage the Hypermesh side integration updates because the integration has been developed by us. But most of the time, the integration doesn't happen like it's happening for Hypermesh, like users moving from 2022 to 2022.3, for example. So most of the time, the synchronization, it's synchronized. The backend systems are taken to the next level after rigorous testing, and we can definitely help if some user is moving, then updating our solution to the version that they are upgrading to. So this will be something like a synchronized activity, and that will be taken care independently by Altair and ProStep separately. This was the last slide that I had. Thank you.